I'd like to call to order the Board of Education meeting for Monday, April 6th. If everyone would please allegiance with me.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, well, this is something new and different. Ray, if you can hear me, I just got a text from Tammy West that she's trying to connect. So if you could.
Okay, and Karen's going to make sure he gets that. Take your time, Karen. Don't hurt yourself.
Yep. Okay, so we are having this first board meeting remotely or electronically due to COVID-19.
Okay. Does Tammy have Ray's phone number? Could Tammy West call Ray? You're going to text. While Lisa is doing that, let me just remind everybody we are trying to do this, and we were worried about the safety because of all the school districts that have had trouble with Zoom. By streaming it to YouTube, we thought this would work the best. And I want to remind everyone to mute your mic until you want to talk. And the way you do that is by clicking on your screen or going to the bottom left-hand corner of the taskbar and clicking on the microphone to mute it and then to unmute it, the red line across. So it's best if you're muted. That way we don't hear all the side conversations, and we'll go from there. So I think we can make this work. I think it'll be quite successful, and unfortunately, I think we're going to have more than one meeting this way. So we'll do our best to make this work.
All right, very good. I would like to start off. We do have all board members present, except for Tammy West, who is attempting to join. So we'll have her here in a little bit, I'm sure. First off, we have the adoption of the agenda, including the supplemental personnel report. I believe Deborah sent out the green folder to all board members so that you have that information. So I would entertain a motion to adopt the agenda.
I'll make a motion.
All right.
I'll second.
Motion by Tracy and a second by Jeff. All in favor? Aye.
All right.
Okay. Just a word before we have any other approvals. On Dr. Dirkson's two items, we will do a roll call vote, and Hammer will call the names for that. Unless we have a vote that doesn't appear to be unanimous, we will just do an aye or raise your hand or some sort of motion that way. If we need to go to a roll call vote, if there's somebody that's going to vote differently than everyone else, then we'll do a roll call vote for that item. Does that make sense?
Those to me.
Good deal. All right, we have the approval of bills. Tracy, I believe you were able to look the bills over before the meeting?
I think it was Jamie.
Oh, Jamie, sorry.
Actually, I was,
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I said that wrong. I got the wrong paper.
So it is Tracy?
So it was Tracy?
yeah, I was forwarded as I get it.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion by Tracy and a second by Pamela. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye. Is that 6?
Sounded like unanimous to me.
Okay, 6-0. Okay. Next up, we have the consent agenda, and that includes the approval of personnel, including the supplemental personnel report, approval of minutes for our March 9th, 2020 Board of Education meeting, approval of Head Start, Early Head Start supplemental grant application, approval of contract for Link Instructional Coach, Independent Consultant Contract Year 3 for Lynn Nolte, approval of contract for Link Professional Development Coordinator and Literacy Project Manager for Link Year 3 Independent Consultant Kelly Clark, approval of RAS Kids and Reading A to Z, Learning A to Z subscription renewal for 2020-2021, approval of contract with Teaching Channel for TCH Plus licensing. That's for April 1st to June 30th. 2021, April 1st, 2020 to June 30th, 2021. Approval of memorandum of understanding between DCNEA and USD 443 regarding COVID-19. Anybody have any questions on that?
Yeah, when you're talking, I think with Fred's mic on, it's real echoey on our end. One of you could have those.
Okay,
If you guys are mic close.
I think it
Thank you,
might,
because I didn't know what to say.
yeah. That's good to know, and the only way I know to cure that is to go to my office, so I don't know how I can be on camera and go to my office though, but it'd be on the screen.
Check that laptop in there?
No,
Oh, you can't.
I have a camera in my office, so I can do it that way.
Let me have Ray set it up.
So, yeah, tell her.
I'll make a motion to accept the consent agenda.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion by Pamela. No, it's a motion by Jeff and a second by Pamela. All in favor? Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Okay. 6-0.
Okay, let's take a pause
Okay,
here.
we're going to pause for a minute.
Ray, I'm going to leave the meeting here and go to the meeting in my office.
Just leave it.
Okay,
Yeah, but I'm connected to that. Oh, well,
you're connected to this one?
no. Am I connected to that one? Or am I on this one? Okay.
Do we want to do where we mute, Fred?
No, I don't think you can do that. So I'll just go to my office and we'll eliminate the echo. I can at least eliminate that. Then I will show up when I talk.
Okay.
Okay, I just got from Tammy that she can hear us and see us. I don't, if that helps. Okay, we're ready now for new business. We've got first up curriculum and instruction, the update on literacy grant and link budget and general information. Dr. Springsteen.
Okay. Have brief update on the literacy grant. So there's 3 points on there that I do want to cover. The good news, number one, USD did receive an extension to allow the fiscal period of the grant to end January 30th of 2021. Originally, this was a federal grant running on a different calendar cycle, and 3 years per federal statute, we was going to end this grant September 30th. So KSDE did extension all of next year. So we are planning accordingly that our budget and our activities will go through the entire academic year of 2020-2021. You guys just approved some personnel changes. So as we go into this year, as we go into next year, there will be some changes in our personnel. Currently, we have 3 instructional coaches that are purchased or that are paid for through the Link grant, as well as a grant manager. So Kelly Clark is the one that's kind of the point and overseeing the grant component of the coaches. Going into next year's budget, we're dropping down our staff from 4 to 2. 2 of the existing coaches will go to fill 2 open building instructional coaching positions. So we have those openings this year. It made sense to start that transition as we look into the future 1 year from now. Kelly and Lynn both have requested, Lynn Nolte has been a contracted consultant for us this current year. Next year, Kelly Clark has asked to do that as well. She's got some commitments, personal commitments at home. She is asked to do a consultant contract. So you will see that. In essence, she will terminate her employment with the school district, and we will hire her as an independent contractor per the agreement you guys approved in the consent agenda. Both of these individuals will still be responsible for overseeing all the grant requirements and implementation of year 3, as well as filing all the forms with the state and working with our internal evaluator through the link process. Was there a question? Okay. As we look at I had mentioned to you in previous board agenda that I had mentioned in the past that we were going to try to utilize link funds for our tier 1 or tier 2 and 3 ELA supports. I do want you to know that our first payment that went to Pearson was $536,914. That was 50% of the overall purchase order.
Hey, Tammy, I'm sorry to interrupt, Scott. Hey, Tammy, when you're not talking, if you would mute your iPad, so.
No, I didn't know you. I will. I didn't know you guys could hear me. I've been trying to get on.
Okay.
Okay. All right. The first payment that was sent to Pearson, we broke the payment.
I know, Fred. Hey, I didn't know it was on. Ray's been working with me to get me on.
Okay.
Okay, bye.
One more shot here. The first payment of the $536,000, $260,000 of that came from the link funds that we had out of this year's budget. What I've asked Link staff to prepare for is they're finalizing the 2020-21 budget. We're looking at all of our expenditures to carry on year 3, which includes professional development, materials, training, and the staffing that I mentioned. But I've also asked that there be money that we earmark for purchasing the tier 2 and 3 supports. That could either be to offset part of the original Pearson ELA purchase order and or any of the new tier 2 and 3 materials we need to get. We're looking like we're going to be on target for what I had asked them to do is to earmark about $400,000 out of next year's link budget to go towards those materials. So that's good news. In the end, we're looking at over $500,000 out of 2 fiscal years in link to cover our tier 2 and 3 supports for ELA. We did get this approved as far as what materials would fit within the grant guidelines through both KSDE as well as they had Pearson staff look over the materials with their grant specialists as well. So I feel very comfortable that these purchases meet the guidelines. What we'll look at going into this next year as we phase in, or we phase into the 3rd year, is that sustainability piece. Obviously the intention of this grant was that it doesn't sunset, the funds sunset, but the activities and the focus on literacy and culturally responsive teaching will increase. They'll continue year in and year out. We will have some conversations at the cabinet level and then a potential to bring options to the board with the staffing that is part of LINK and whether that will continue in some form or fashion as far as a district position going forward after the end of next year. So with that said, I would like to open it up to the board if you have any questions over the LINK grant.
Board members, do you have anything you want to ask of Dr. Springston on this? Okay.
Dr. Springston, I had a question. Was this one that I wondered how they were paying it? Because it seemed like they were paying the consultants all up front. Is that not accurate?
Yeah, originally we had talked about that. If the grant were to end September 30th, if the feds did not allow the state to have the extension, then we would have paid it all up front. That I had mentioned that to the board that was an
Yeah.
ideal situation.
Yeah.
Ethan was involved in looking at that. When they allowed this extension, that took that off the table.
That took it off the table. Okay, that was something when I was reading it, I thought this doesn't seem right. I mean, it seemed right for them, but possibly.
That's a good point, and I'm glad you brought that up. We did talk
Thank
about it.
Scott, when you said 2 of the instructional coaches were going back to the classroom, is that correct?
They are actually, they have requested to go back to building instructional coaching openings that we have right
Building,
now.
okay, that's what I was just confused. Good, okay.
Any other questions? Okay, that was information only. Thank you, Scott, for that update. We'll move on then to public information. Carrie?
Good evening. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Hey, Madam Chair, Board of Education members, and Dr. Dirksen. This evening, I just have information for you two, and it's about the printing project that we did within the district for the continuing packets, because it has just been a tremendous team effort. Success on the front end with all of the information, and Scott has shared that, and Dr. Dirksen, I'm sure, has shared with you guys about the materials. Then it was handed off to us, to my public information team, to go ahead and print that project. And so I just want to say I am so incredibly grateful for the team that I'm privileged to work with USD 443. On Wednesday afternoon, the print shop received continuous learning packets for our students, and it was a tremendous project. We were responsible for managing over 820,000 printed copies. So that's what we managed out of our office. That does not include the high school and the number of copies that were printed at their school. So, and they did quite a few. So I'm guessing we probably exceeded that million mark for the printed copies. We had from Wednesday until Sunday to get this done, and we could not have accomplished that without the assistance of many of the district staff pitching in to help. Regina and Karen, I'm super proud of my team. They worked tirelessly and efficiently in running all of the printers in the admin building. So if you can imagine the different levels, running up and down, putting together all of the packets. On Friday, the printers ran from 6 a.m. until midnight. Karen was back in the office 6 a.m. Saturday morning, getting those machines ready to go again. And we continued to print until early Saturday afternoon. Keith Rathman, our sales representative with Century Business Technologies, he came to our aid. He got printers going in Dodge City and in Topeka, and they extended to us the per-click cost that we have with our contract for all of those copies. So that was very, very helpful, and we appreciate that. We do anticipate some overreach, and we'll bring that to you when we have those numbers for you to take a look at. But that was a tremendous help for him to help us with that. The owner, Mark McCabe in Topeka, he ran the printers, and he ran those from like Friday until Sunday afternoon. They were responsible for printing all of our 8th grade packets. Copies were also printed at Comanche, at Dodge City Middle School, and at Beeson. So we're very grateful for the people there that ran the printers and made that happen. Dr. Dirksen and Sean Lampy, they worked together to get us large envelopes. Sean ran around town picking up envelopes from Dodge City Community College, from the city of Dodge City. Barb Norton, Alice Bell, they worked Thursday and Friday putting together those packets at the admin building. Tammy Nedler brought her family in Friday night, and they worked to make sure we got the elementary packets all finished up. Matt Turner made sure the secondary teachers and principals were ready for the packets when we would get those delivered on Saturday, and then again Sunday when the 8th grade packets would arrive. Chris Meyer, James Trombley jumped in the van, ran to Topeka Sunday, brought back the packets, and we were able to accomplish the project. We got it all put together. We hit the hard hit time so they could be distributed on Monday and Tuesday morning. We also want to shout out to our custodians. Thank you for keeping us safe, for your tireless efforts with sanitizing our work areas. So it was tremendously successful and a great group effort. So I'm just expressing my gratitude for everybody that helped out. I would also like to say we've had community members step up and they want to serve our students. So Jamie Kuehl and his wife Kelsey with McDonald's, They've offered to provide one meal to our students over Easter break. We'll do that through a voucher system, and that will be included in our grab-and-go meals. And then also Roger and Zakira Emmel with 7 Baskets Full Ministry. They are starting to feed 150 meals one night a week, and that starts tonight, for 150 meals for our most high-risk families. So we're reaching out through our parent liaisons, through our principals and custodians, so that people can be aware, or principals and teachers, so that people can be aware of that. Moving forward, the Public Information Office will continue to post good stories from our students and our teachers, so that our stakeholders, our members in our community realize that we are keeping education as a priority. Even though it looks a little bit differently, it is taking place now through the end of the year. Any questions?
Fantastic job. I just really appreciate how the district as a whole has all jumped in and just got the job done. Very impressive.
Yeah, I told people, I said, we published 7,000 books in a few days. I mean, when you think about it, it's amazing.
It was crazy.
That's amazing.
Their distribution rate was tremendous too. I mean, every single piece. To think that they had so many parents and come and get those packets, that was terrific.
Absolutely. That's great.
And
hey, this is Ryan. Sorry,
ahead, Ryan.
real quick. And kudos to our teachers, because as you guys know, I've got 4 kids in the household, all are in school, and so we've had a lot of really good communication from the teachers at all levels, whether it be through email, telephone calls, text. So I appreciate. I know it's obviously difficult circumstances, but they're most definitely doing the best they can with the hand that they've been dealt. So I appreciate all that they're doing, and I really appreciate all the contact and communication we've been getting from them, checking up on. And I'm sure they're doing it district-wide, but checking up on my kids and making sure everything's going okay. So kudos to all of you guys and all of them.
that's great to hear on that end too, of what's going on. And no offense, Scott, but I'm sorry, what, Jeff?
No, Debbie's meeting with her kids tonight at 8:00.
Yeah.
You know, her advisory kids. So
Yeah.
And teachers they're doing a great job.
Very good. And Scott, Carrie's background is a lot nicer than yours. Sorry, but
That it is.
okay. Next up, thank you for that report, Carrie. I appreciate it. Next up, we're ready for business services, and we've got Mr. Russell ready for that, I believe.
Yeah, good evening. In a little while, Dr. Dirksen's going to talk to you about the waiver that we're working on getting with Department of Education. In order to get that waiver that grants us the exemption from the 1,116 hours, one of the things that we have to do is ensure that we're going to pay the entire staff through the end of June 30th. So the first thing I want to go over is a resolution that we have in front of you guys that basically ensures the continued payments to the employees from March 16th through June 30th. We have to do that in order to receive the state funding. It's not in your packet, but it's worth noting, it's something I didn't know till I started here, that over 70% of our budget comes through state funding. So it's actually a very important piece of the income that we receive as a district. It would be very hard to get along without it, and we wouldn't be in compliance with the 1,116 hours. So, and I think this is one of those items that we wanted to do a roll call vote on.
Okay.
But before I go around, I guess I want to ask, is there any questions on the resolution itself for the reasons that we're asking for it?
Not much of a choice, is there?
Not if you want to continue to receive state funding and be able to graduate students and get funding next year.
Yeah.
Well, there is a choice, but it's not good.
Not a very good one.
Well, then let me just go around the horn and I'll ask for an aye or a nay, and I'll just call your name and you guys.
Hammer, I think we need a motion first.
Yeah, that would be good too. Why don't you make a motion? Yeah.
I would make the motion to pass the resolution that Mr. Russell has presented us.
I'll second. It's Ryan.
All right, we've got a motion by Jeff and a second by Ryan. Now, Hammer, if you'd like to do the roll call.
Sure, I'll just go around the horn. Jamie?
Yep.
Ryan?
Yes.
Tracy?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Lisa?
Yes.
Tammy?
Yes.
Pamela? Is she still on or is she muted?
She's muted.
Yes.
7-0 on that one. Thank you very much. We don't have to go through any of the other ones that I'm bringing up to you that way, but we wanted to get that one right for sure. The next couple are just some quotes that had come in. On our last meeting, you had approved some specific capital outlay projects. Most of these, except for one, all pertain to those particular projects that had previously been approved. We've since gotten quotes and just asking for your approval to accept those and move on down the road. The first one is kind of timely. It's has to do with the Tersano cleaning units. We had a few of those that we tried in the fall with a few of the schools. They worked successfully, so we wanted to go ahead and get, I think, 13 more units to be able to use in all the schools. So that particular purchase for Pure Zone Tersano units is $39,650. Is there any questions on that?
Hammer, how many schools does that leave that are not on this system?
That will cover all of them. That gets it.
That was a question. I wanted to know how many had the system.
Any other questions on this item? Okay, I would entertain a motion. I believe we've got all board members present at the meeting, whether it's physically or through Zoom. Dr. Dirksen is going to give an update on why our internet has quit working.
Okay. Thank you all for being patient, and sorry for the circumstances that we're under. The only thing that I know is that we had, that was funny, we had a drop in internet coverage, and no one knew why. Upon investigating, we found out that there was an incident that occurred at the new administration building, and it involves the server room. My first report is that the fire suppression system was activated, and no one knows why yet. There was not a fire that they can find. However, the fire suppression system is one that releases Freon, and Freon is a very dangerous gas, but it eliminates all the oxygen, so it suppresses a fire. The Freon was released. I don't know what kind of damage that causes or doesn't cause, but I know several people, including Ray Whip, are up there right now trying to assess the situation. The fire department was called, as were emergency vehicles. So we frantically tried to get back together, having never done a Zoom meeting before. We didn't realize that some people were Zooming through the telephone, through the cellular system. And so we're back together now through phone, but all board members are present. And so that's a wonderful thing. But there are a couple of items that have to be taken care of, and the rest we just will do since we're all here. We do have the school attorney online as well, so I think we're following things in the best succession we can. And I apologize for all the happenings, but I'm grateful for those who have hung on. With that, I'm going to turn it over to the president to go through the agenda. Hammer was talking, as I recall, when it left, and had we voted on the cleaning, we voted on that one, so we're ready for the next item. All right.
So one plus side of this is that the new administration building is a lot closer to the fire department.
That is.
anybody.
Well, you had to stretch for that positive. Good job.
Lisa.
I don't know if you can move the phone a little bit closer towards them, so the audio will pick them up.
Okay, is the audio through my phone now?
Yes, sir.
We didn't.
Okay,
So it doesn't work if
you know
I.
what? I'll bet your audio is not turned on. Yep. I'll try it.
Okay.
And that is gonna cause a mute, and I'm gonna have to leave, so I'll go to my office and we'll do it from there, because I can carry that on.
Okay. So,
Drinking if it's cheap.
as far as here in the admin office, we did not have a vote for the Tersano system. Jeff, were you making a motion? It froze on you.
No, the motion was made in 2 seconds.
I thought I motioned.
Jamie motioned. Okay.
I made a motion on the first one that Hammer presented. Was there a second one?
Well, then we were on the pure zone.
Oh, gotcha.
For the-
Okay, so where we're at now then, it looks like is Jamie had made a motion for the, to approve the purchase of the Tersano cleaning systems.
Right.
And I thought she's.
I wrote down, I either made the motion or seconded it.
Okay, so Jamie made the motion, so Pamela second. So all in favor of approving the purchase of the Tersano cleaning systems? Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Okay, that's a 7-0 vote. All right, Hammer, we're ready for the bid for the lawn mowers.
Again, this is part of the capital outlay, part of one of the projects that you guys approved. We've got bids. I had no idea that you were going to respond. We got one of the responses probably this one project and any of the rest of them. And there was some confusion on bid specs.
Do you have a mic? Are you on your phone?
You want to come sit here?
You go to the podium.
Go to the podium.
Oh, yeah, you can go to the podium, my man. Thought you were going to get out of that podium. Thought you were going to get away from it.
I don't really know whether I'm coming or going.
Yeah,
Does that work?
it will.
My fellow Americans.
There we go.
All right, okay. Yeah, so next on the agenda is
I don't think the audio is working at all for what we're trying to do on the Zoom. It's real garbly from where I'm at. I think that's what we're hearing, so I don't know what we're gonna do, but,
Well,
if somebody had a phone, but once you have a phone there, I think then you might have to run Lisa's phone back and forth, or,
okay.
and I think that'll cause that echo, that feedback.
I'll just walk around like a reporter.
There you go.
I don't know if we're gonna be able to get by with the audio.
We're breaking all kind of rules here.
okay. Can you guys hear me now? Anybody? Okay, I'm getting some thumbs up there. Is there a lot of reverb or feedback, or is it okay? Okay, all right, so I'm just going to talk fast then. Next on the list is the bids for the lawn mowers. We received a lot of different bids. There were a few that didn't meet the specs, but basically at the end of the day, what we're asking for is two of the larger lawn mowers for a total of $71,837. That gets us the one from the Hoover mower sales, the $24,171, and then the one from Sutherland's, the $47,666.08. Any questions on that?
I hate to ask the question.
Oh, that's fine.
But no, it's the Hoover one was so much lower. Is there a reason it was, I mean,
Should I go over? Do I need to go to you?
As compared to what?
well, it just seemed higher than the other bids, like it was a higher bid.
Oh, it's a much wider, I'm going to get this wrong. It's like 110 inch versus a 60 inch.
It's two different mowers.
Okay, all right.
Does that make sense? Is that what?
Well, bigger.
That's a lot of mower.
Yeah, that's right. I'll ask him for, oh, that's right.
Are you talking on the 25?
Yeah, no, that's right.
Well, I could ask this ahead of time, so don't worry about it. It's technical.
Well, I can still get you your answers. How's that?
I know you will.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, are there any other questions on the mowers?
Lisa, I couldn't hear what Pam's question was.
Well, she was asking about the price difference between the two different mowers, and that she said that she was okay, that with.
If you ask me, I'll put it in weekend review, and then you can all hear the answer. How's that?
So Pamela's gonna ask Hammer the question, and he will put it, he'll send it out to us on Friday. Okay? Are we ready to vote?
Okay, so, yeah, I'll make a motion for approval.
Okay.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Tammy and a second by Jeff. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, 7-0.
Okay, next on the list is the carpet bid for $213,750, and this is actually a ratification as opposed to approval. It's a little ironic the way things worked out now, but right before spring break, they weren't sure they could get us scheduled in for the summer. We wanted to issue a PO to them to ensure that we had the labor available and that they were going to meet our summer deadline. Ironically, with everything that's happened, some of the things have been put on hold for them, and they want to come in and do it earlier, which I'm actually going to allow. It won't interfere with any of the other maintenance. So asking for your approval, but that you had approved the project. So that's why I felt a little comfortable doing the PO. It's not a practice I will normally do. And like I said, it's a little ironic how it worked out, but yeah, now I'm asking for permission or your ratification for that carpet bid. A lot of that, it's going to different schools, but probably the largest amount is going to the high school.
So just to be clear, so the project was approved through the capital outlay projects that we approved. But the actual purchase of replacing the carpet, he's already
I issued a PO.
issued the PO.
Normally, I'm asking your permission to write the PO. I issued it right before spring break, and so it's a ratification instead of an approval.
Part of that is that we only had the one board meeting in March.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve this.
Okay.
I'll second.
We've got a motion by Pamela and a second by Jamie. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Thank you.
Did I hear you, Tracy? Okay, 7-0.
Next on the list is the proposal for our portion of the sewer replacement out at Memorial Stadium. Now, just to be clear, the city is actually replacing the line that runs, how does it run, north-south that goes down the middle. What we're replacing is the lines that go from our locker rooms and the stadium itself to the main line of the sewer. It came in quite a bit higher than we expected, but it's 17 to 20 some feet deep in various places, so it's quite a bit more involved than was originally thought. But this is a hard quote, and this will get our portion of that. We are working with the city on getting both of those done at the same time. Is there any questions on?
That's kind of, if we want to move.
Hold on, Tracy's got a question.
I missed the very first part of that. Go ahead and ask that again.
How does the placement of that line that's going in now play into our potential plans of moving the locker rooms?
Yeah, it should actually work perfectly. We know where we want those to go, so that was all taken into consideration. We shouldn't get caught by surprise, or that they've done a good job of figuring out, and they have made some changes on where the locker rooms are now versus how they want them. Want the homestand locker rooms where they want those versus where they want the visitors. So that's all been taken into consideration.
Did you have a question?
Well, no, I was just saying, this is kind of the first step in the whole project, right?
And that should be done before next football season.
Right.
Whereas we probably won't start construction on the new locker rooms until after
Right.
football season. But
Perfect.
all the plumbing should work by the time the fall football season rolls around.
This is just a small thing to ask.
Any other questions on this item?
What's the total cost on it?
142,893. That's our portion. Yeah, the city has a pretty big chunk as well for the main line.
Right. Make a motion, we accept the bid.
Well, I just had a question is there a reason we went with Building Solutions instead of Tetro when the bids are closed?
Tetra's
didn't
bid
have-
was not complete.
Okay.
Schwab Eaton had a letter in there, and it said that their bid was not complete.
Okay.
And so that's why they're recommending the Building Solutions.
And the last thing I have for you tonight is, currently, we have had an agreement with.
Oh, we have to vote.
You'll have to vote on that one.
Thank you. I'm glad one
I'll
of
make
us
a
is paying
motion, we
attention.
accept the bid for the sewer line.
Okay, we have a motion by Jeff, second by Pamela, all in favor.
Aye.
7-0.
Thanks. Thank you very much. Okay, I guess I'm ready now.
Got a few things going on. It's all right.
Last on the list is approval of the corporate agreement with American Express, which we've had one with them for the last 5 years. It was expiring. It's one of those, you pay certain bills that we can on with American Express, and we get money back. Right now, I think we get about $9,000 a year. This is a renewal, but it's also a little different where we should actually get more money back, so it will actually be even more in our benefit. So think of it as a renewal with some added to it. We get a different amount of basis points on that. That's the word I'm looking for.
A question. Sometimes American Express, not everybody takes.
That's true.
American Express.
Yep. No, you have to sign the vendors up ahead of time, and there's actually like Victory Electric. We use them. We don't get as much back with them, but we do get a portion. So yeah, you're exactly right. There's a few that won't accept it. Some of them, if you talk to, they'll take a portion, and you don't get as much. But I'll be honest with you, it takes a fair amount of work and paying attention to make that work. But like I said, they've in the past, it's been between $9,000 and $10,000 a year that they've saved the district, and this will do even more. So, in fact, we're doing a portion of our book purchase, which is, as you remember, is quite a bit. So that'll help.
You bet.
Okay.
Are we ready for a motion? I'll make that motion if
Okay.
we approve this.
A motion by Pamela, second by Tammy, all in favor.
Aye.
Thank you.
7-0.
Thank you guys
Thanks,
very much.
Andrew.
Thank you.
All right. give
On
me
this
a-
historic night.
Yeah.
Okay, Dr. Dirksen, we are ready for you.
Okay, thank you, and appreciate all the work you're doing, Lisa, to help make this be as successful as we can make it be. I did get an update from Ray that they do believe the Freon, one of the advantages of it, it didn't cause a lot of damage itself because it has a chemical reaction. However, Ray's a bit concerned about the suddency or the immediacy of the shut-off, what that might have done to some of the equipment. So these will be back and running here in a short amount of time. However, we do need to carry on because this item that I present now, the most important item, in my opinion, on the agenda tonight, it is due Wednesday. It has to be sent to the state by Wednesday, so and it has to be approved by the board. This is the waiver application that allows for schools to maintain their funding in state aid as a result of the governor closing all school buildings for the year. And I might reiterate this, and you may share with patrons when you talk. I know you know this. The governor closed all buildings, but that did not stop school. And as you've heard from several presenters tonight. We are still maintaining the function of school itself. We're just doing it without the advantage of the school buildings. This waiver that I'm asking your approval for, and you have in your enclosures, includes the waiver application, the assurance, the assurances, which is actually what Hammer presented earlier, that we pay everybody and that will do the required academic support that needs to be done, and then the continuous learning plan application, which is basically just a brief of what we're actually doing with the packets that Carrie explained about earlier. So what I need tonight and intended to do, I actually had it ready to go of all things. I was going to email it tonight after the board meeting, but it doesn't look like that's happening immediately, so no grins there. I see some of you grinning. We'll get it there one way or the other. But if I have to drive to Topeka, it's going to get there by the 8th, so we'll make sure that happens. Anyway, I think it's pretty self-explanatory. It's required from all school districts in the state if they want to be paid. As I told you, the deadline is April 8th, and we do want to be paid. So I graciously ask for your approval of the waiver for attendance requirements as presented.
Okay, and this is one of the items that we need to do a roll call vote on. I think I may just do the roll call, Hammer, if that's all right with you. Okay, so we need to start on this application to waive the 2019-2020 attendance requirements. First off, we need a motion. Motion
I'll move, it's Ryan.
Okay, motion by Ryan.
Yes.
And a second by Pamela. Okay, and when I call your name, if you would state how you would like to vote. Tammy West.
Yes.
Jamie Lewis Gonzalez.
Yes.
Pamela Preston.
Yes.
Jeff Hires.
Yes.
Ryan Osmus.
Yes.
Tracy Rankin.
Yes.
Lisa Killian, yes. Okay, thank you, everyone. Dr. Dirksen, you want to go on to number 2?
I do. And I will say before I begin, one or both of these resolutions needs to have the signature of, or it is this resolution, isn't it?
Yes.
That needs to have the signature of all board members. And the way we're going to do that, well, we have 5 in the building tonight, so we can get them. And the 2 that are on the phone, we can email it to you when the email works. And you can just sign that copy and scan it or send it to us one way or the other. We'll just attach it. So we're not going to worry about that detail. However, that is a detail that we have to give attention to. Okay, this is an important one, and this is part of the whole process that we've worked through. It was known because school did shut off basically at the end of the third 9 weeks that could cause a hardship for some students as far as it is involving graduation. One of the first things that the high school did, Jackie and her leadership got with all of the assistant principals and the counselors, went through every senior and made sure where they were at and what they needed to be successful at graduation. That being said, this opportunity that was afforded by the state did look like it would serve its purpose in our district for several students. Not all of them. We require 26 credits for graduation. The state requires 21. This resolution suspends the board policy that we have in place and allows for the class of 2020 only to have the advantage of the state's required 21 credits for graduation. And then at the end of this year, this resolution terminates and the class of 21 would go back to having to have 26 credits. So essentially, I'm asking you to allow us to take advantage of what the state has provided for this class so that we can use it with a few students that we will need to for them to be able to graduate. It really comes down to an equity issue of making sure that all kids have all the advantages so that they can be treated fairly for their graduation.
Does anybody have any questions on this? Okay, this is another item that we're going to have a roll call vote on. So to start off on the resolution for suspending board policy IHF graduation requirements. We need a motion.
I make a motion for approval.
Okay, we have a motion by Tammy. Second by Pamela. And was there a question? No, okay. So roll call vote, Tammy West,
Yes.
Jamie Lewis Gonzalez,
Yes.
Pamela Preston,
Yes.
Jeff Hires,
Yes.
Ryan Osmus,
Yes.
and Tracy Rankin.
Yes.
Lisa Killian, yes.
Hey, I do have a question after the vote was taken, though. How is this going to affect the freshmen, sophomores, and juniors? And are they going to, how is it going to affect them getting the 26 credits? Are they, I mean, I guess I don't understand the work that's being done now. Will that be sufficient for them to get credits? To work towards the 26?
Dr. Dirksen, can you hear Jeff's question?
Yes, I heard the question, and all that is being taken into consideration.
Okay.
Basically, Scott may want to jump in, or Matt, or either one, to make sure I say this right. But we are trying to maintain education and provide what we feel like they need to be able to move on. We do not see students being hurt by what we're providing in this continuous learning plan. We're trying to make sure that they stay on pace to reach their goal, whether it be a fourth grader moving to fifth grade, or whether it's a freshman needing credits to move on to their sophomore year. So we do believe that that we are following the right order for that, and we are well aware of that. So I appreciate Jeff bringing that up. Scott or Matt, do you have anything to add if you're on the line?
I don't think Matt's on the line, but that is correct. So the high school, and I'd have to probably be a good weekend review thing for maybe Matt to put out there, but I know that the high school is working very hard to take into account how to possibly grade the work, the remaining part of this year, so that kids aren't penalized, because grades, it'd be kind of tough to grade kids in this kind of artificial environment that we have right now. So their main focus right now with the continuous learning packets is to make sure that kids are being provided the standards by which they would have received face-to-face. That's the primary objective. So I will ask Matt to go ahead and provide more details as far as what that means for the grade, but I know Jackie and her staff are very cognizant of the fact that this is different. They need to be, you know, the whole grading credit component must be handled accordingly.
Thank you, Scott. Thank you.
For the board members that are physically here in the boardroom, this is the sheet that we need all of us to sign. So if the 5 of us can sign that before we leave, that'll make life a little bit easier for Dr. Dirksen. All right, we are ready for Board of Education member district responsibilities, and basically there's not a lot, so I'll kind of skip through. I believe there was something regarding Bright Beginnings and Head Start.
Yeah, I got something real quick. So when the feds passed the CARES Act, the coronavirus relief package, they included up to $500 million for Head Start programs to operate supplemental summer programs. And so I believe we are going to submit a letter of intent to apply for those funds to be able to operate during offer that program during the summer. I was informed by Tammy that we will be getting here in a couple weeks. They'll be filling out what do we call that? The sheet.
Consideration sheet?
Consideration form. Yes, thank you. Mm-hmm. They'll be bringing forth a consideration form for us at our next board meeting here in a couple of weeks. But we are going to submit a letter of intent to apply for those funds, and then they'll make it more formal here in a couple of weeks with a little bit more information for us as we move forward on that.
Very good. Thanks, Ryan.
And then real quickly also, and then I wanted to make mention, AC sent me a quick note. There was, as far as the learning packets, continued learning packets, they had 100% distribution on those packets at the beginning. So that's really good. Really good news. And then also his staff and everybody been working on a Facebook Facebook page to help coordinate that stuff as well, and making sure the families are getting the information that they need as we move forward with that stuff. So, congratulations to them and all the work that they're doing down there.
Yeah, I think that kind of goes across the board with all schools, that they're really reaching out to families and doing what they need to do to keep in touch with the kids as much as they can. I also believe there was some legislative, I think Dr. Dirksen was going to touch on that.
Yes, I did, and naturally my battery's running low too, so what else could happen tonight, right? So I shut off the video to try to save a little battery storage. And the thing that I thought was important for the board to be aware of, Hammer has been with me through every Zoom meeting we've had with the Kansas State Department of Education. And Thursday or Friday last week was the first time it had been mentioned in the CARES Act that Ryan just referenced. It also includes some assurances that every state had to sign in order to access those funds. That one of the assurances that has to be followed through with includes providing the same funding for the next 2 years that you currently have for your state for public education. And that was not known until, like I said, Thursday or Friday. But that's a wonderful security blanket, if you will, that we know where we stand with school finances for the next 2 years. So I was really happy to hear that and wanted to make sure the board was aware of that as we move forward. It helps us with our planning.
That's really good news. Okay, we will skip on down for the May board meeting. We've got Tammy scheduled to review bills. As far as announcements, April 27th is our next scheduled board meeting, regular board meeting. We are going to keep our scheduled board meetings the same as they are. This will be a Zoom meeting at noon on the 27th of April. Is there something anybody else has that they'd like to have for future board meetings or additional information?
I will just say that for 6/13, we have the final interview for the director job on Wednesday. Probably be coming to some decision in the next week, probably in the next days after. Probably by the end of this week, we may have a decision made. And one of our candidates took a superintendent job. And so I was disappointed in that. And so we'll have to make a decision, and I am not of the mind, and neither is my interview team, to settle. Mm-hmm. We'll open it up again if we're not satisfied. And that's just the plan. And Wednesday about noon, we will have a good idea what we're going to do.
Okay.
So.
Did everybody on the Zoom meeting, were you able to hear Jeff okay on that?
No, I didn't catch all of it, Lisa, if you wouldn't mind just summarizing.
Sure. So he's 6/13 is in the process of the interviews for the new director. And the last interview is Wednesday. So Wednesday afternoon, they'll have a better idea of what happens next. One of the candidates has withdrawn their application and taken a superintendent's job somewhere else. So he was disappointed in that. But they're not going to settle just to get somebody in the seat. So they're going to make sure they have the right person in that job. So.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
I just want to make sure that everyone who works for 443 needs to be commended. It's unbelievable what they did in such a short amount of time.
Absolutely.
And that the work ethic, and you don't hear complaints, anything. It's just everybody was there for the students, and it really makes me proud to be part of 443. And I
Absolutely.
want to say a great big thank you, a standing ovation, however best we can say it to everyone. And that stops from the top down. It just everybody was wonderful.
Yeah. So Pamela was just expressing, I think the same thing that all of us feel is how proud we are of how everybody in the district has just stepped up and gotten the job done, and worked extra hours and done whatever was necessary to make sure that our kids have the least amount of impact as possible in this situation. So from the entire board, we're very appreciative of all the work and all the effort, and you guys make us look good, and we appreciate you. Okay, anything else?
Well, I just wanted to I know I was in the building a couple of times talking to Hammer and to Dr. Dirksen about the safety measures being taken by the district for the district employees, and the target keeps moving. The target keeps moving, and so I just want to commend people, but I know some employees have some questions, and I really just want to make sure we're taking every precaution that we have been told to take. Okay. So we don't want this to get started in town.
No, we don't.
Anyway. So thanks, Hammer.
Okay. All right, anything else?
And the way we made this successful tonight. Now, if I can just get that application emailed to the state, I'll probably sleep a lot better.
Well, we do what we have to do, I guess, huh? All right, we are ready to adjourn.
Can I make a motion to adjourn?
All right, we have a motion by Tammy, second by Jamie. All in favor? Aye.
Yo.
All right, 7-0. Thank you, everybody. Have a good evening. Stay safe.